If you've ever sat with a patient and thought to yourself, why isn't this working? Why can't they see that I'm trying to help them? Then this video is for you. Because when your intentions as a nurse practitioner are pure, but the connection with your patient is just not landing, it creates emotional friction. And that slowly erodes and destroys your confidence as a clinician. And so today I'm explaining the hidden reason behind this disconnect and how to rebuild meaningful connection with your patients on purpose. Hi, for those of you who are new here, my name is Nicole. I am a rheumatology nurse practitioner, and I help other nurse practitioners find happiness in healthcare and meaningfully connect with their patients in 60 seconds or less. I had a nurse practitioner colleague once tell me, I don't know how to relate to pediatric patients. She said that kids are not accurate historians. They don't always know how to describe their symptoms. And so she has to go to the parents to get an accurate history, hopefully. She once had a 4-year-old girl come in for ear pain. She had said her ears hurt. But when this nurse practitioner asked the girl to describe how long has her pain been going on, can you describe how did it start? The child was silent. She really couldn't describe anything. And so the nurse practitioner said it felt very awkward. It was just a very awkward scenario. And this is a really sweet nurse practitioner. I mean, she really loves helping people. She loves to volunteer. She cares about abused animals. She keeps up with the news and is concerned about what happens to people in unfortunate circumstances around the world. I mean, she truly has a heart of gold and she wants what's best for others. And so what I think she's really saying is, how can I help people? When you don't, doesn't it feel helpless in you? Don't you feel helpless when in your mind and in your heart you have the strongest intentions, but you feel like no one sees it? You feel like no one's seeing it. There's a saying, you judge yourself by your intentions, but other people judge you by your actions. We all have this wealth of information and expertise in our brains. But why can't other people see that, how vital that information is, how important it is to know this? Why do I speak, but it seems like no one's listening to me? And when we want to connect, but we can't, it creates emotional friction. And there's self doubt, there's frustration, and it even contributes to compassion fatigue. And all of these undermine our sense of purpose and make our work feel mechanical instead of meaningful and purposeful, which is what we want. And this emotional disconnect increases clinician stress, of course. And then that lack of connection makes our visits less efficient. It takes so much time to get the history from the patient, like pull it out of them. You feel more drained in the visit, and you haven't even gotten to the physical exam or the assessment and plan part of the visit yet. You're still in the first third. And so if there isn't rapport with your patient, every part of the visit is harder. Every part feels harder. The patients may miss recommendations, the conversations may take longer, and misunderstandings multiply. Ever had a patient interaction that feels like pulling teeth almost? For me, it burns through my energy so fast, so fast. And, we enter healthcare because we deeply care about other people. We really want to help other people. But when that connection is missing, it clashes with our internal narrative, our internal story of being a healer, that we're supposed to be someone that patients can trust and can open up to. But why isn't this working? And for a lot of us, at the end of the day, when we have this happen to us, we go home and we feel like a personal failure. And I totally get it. I also want to feel like I'm succeeding at what I'm doing and feel like I have a purpose, like I'm making an impact on the world. And first of all, I want you to know that it is not a personal failure. It is not a personal failure if you feel disconnected from your patients at work. One of the best things about being a nurse practitioner is that our work matters and it makes a difference. But what makes our work so hard is that our work matters every day and our work makes a difference every day. And so when you're pushing through on your hard days, especially your hard days, It is a true testament to your character and your intention. But with that being said, Albert Einstein once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting different results. You cannot keep pushing through with your current skill set because you'll keep getting what you're getting. You need to stack your current skill set with a new skill set on top to get different results. And so, feeling a lack of disconnect with your patients from your work, it's simply a lack of skill. And I'm going to show you how. So, have you heard of the law of entropy? The law of entropy. This is the second law of thermodynamics in physics. Yeah, I know. Whoa, what, Nicole? We're learning about physics here. You thought you came here to learn how to connect with your patients. You're not just that. You're gonna go home. You're gonna not go home. You are at home, but you're going to walk away with more science and knowledge in your brain that you can use for every day for the rest of your life. And so, the law of entropy states that anything left to itself will grow more in disorder. I'm going to say that again. The law of entropy states that anything that is left to itself will grow more in disorder. In order for anything to get better, intention is required. But in order for anything to get worse, only neglect is required. And so you don't have to do anything for things to get worse. For example, simple example, an ice cube. If you take an ice cube and you put it on the sidewalk outside, what's going to happen to it? It's going to melt, right? The heat from the sun will warm the ice cube and the ice cube will melt. It won't stay cold. It won't stay an ice cube. Anything that is left to itself will grow more and more in disorder. But if you put this ice cube back in the freezer, what happens? The ice cube stays frozen. It's not going to melt because the freezer is going to regulate the temperature and keep it frozen. And so for anything to get better, intention is required. For the ice cube to stay as an ice cube, it needs to go back in the freezer, and the freezer has to keep it cold. And so this law applies to everything in life, not just physics. I want to tell you a story. So I never got braces as a child. I never got braces as a child. My parents, we were in the kind of lower to middle class, and they just could not afford braces for myself and my sister. And so they had to look at who had the worst teeth, the more crooked teeth, and my sister won. And so she got braces, and I never got braces. Luckily, I never got cavities as a kid, but I did have very tight set teeth, and it was very difficult to floss throughout my entire life. It was really hard to get the floss string in between each tooth, between the teeth. The floss string would pull, and I had to yank it down between each teeth, and I would end up suffocating my fingers with the floss string, and it was so painful. Like the blood circulation was just, really impeded from the floss string. And so I would dread flossing because it was such a painful experience that I would end up I would skip flossing. And so fast forward to my adulthood now in my 40s, I have the dentist saw I have a lot of cavities, a lot of periodontal disease. That's where you have infection of the gums and the tissues that hold the teeth in place due to plaque buildup from poor oral hygiene. Example, not flossing regularly. And so I would see my dentist every 4 months, and it would just keep getting worse and worse despite regular cleanings. I would brush my teeth with an electric toothbrush. I would floss, as painful as it was, I'd floss every day between each tooth, and I would use a water pick. It was still getting worse, cavities and gum disease. And so we realized I really need to straighten out my teeth. I have to straighten out my teeth in order to better clean in between my teeth. And so I got Invisalign. Invisalign is basically it's braces for adults, whereas the plastic tray that you put on your teeth and you switch it out every week, every 10 days, and it straightens your teeth out over time. And so I have had Invisalign for the past year and a half. And let me tell you, it is a pain to wear. Oh my goodness. It feels so tight on your teeth. Your teeth feel very sore. Like, when you work out too hard or a lot, and then the next day your muscles are really sore, your arms are sore, your legs are sore. It's hard to reach overhead and get out of a chair and get out of bed. You're like, oh, I'm so sore. It's like that, but your teeth. Your teeth feel sore. It's hard to speak. I constantly have a lisp, and it's so difficult to articulate my words to patients, to my colleagues, to anyone throughout every single day. I have to take out the Invisalign trays when I eat food. And so when I eat, I take them out, I rinse them, and then I eat my food. And then I have to brush my teeth. I have to floss and brush my teeth. And then I can put my Invisalign trays back in. It's such a process to eat food. I mean, I have a little pouch where I bring a toothbrush and a floss and a toothpaste wherever I go, to any restaurant, with family or with friends. It's such an ordeal. And then snacking. Oh, snacking's out of the question. Are you kidding me? Like, just to eat like a bite of a cookie or, a candy or here and there is too much work to remove my Invisalign trays, to eat a snack, and then to go find a bathroom and to floss and to brush my teeth and then to rinse the Invisalign and put it back in. Like, it is just too much work. And so snacking, I get jealous and I have FOMO when I see other people eating and they offer me and I'm like, I got Invisalign, I can't. But guess what? After having my Invisalign for almost a year and a half, I am happy to say that my teeth are so much straighter. They're so much straighter. I can floss so easily now. It is now an enjoyable experience to floss my teeth. I never in my 4 decades of life ever thought I would say that. But it is now an enjoyable experience I do every night is to floss between all my teeth, and the floss just glides through. I'm not hurting or suffocating my fingers, and I no longer dread it. And my dentist even says that the last time I saw my dentist, there's no more cavities, no more gum disease, everything looks really clean. Why am I telling you this story? There's two reasons why I'm telling you this story. The first reason is that it's to demonstrate the law of entropy. The law of entropy. My crooked, tight set teeth, if left alone, without the Invisalign, without straightening my teeth, it would have continued to grow in more disorder. My crooked teeth would have grown more in disorder with plaque buildup, with periodontal disease, with receding gums, worst case, tooth loss. And if you didn't know, poor oral hygiene actually leads to other things with your health. Any infection or bacteria in your gums, it can get into the bloodstream, which leads to your heart, your lungs, cardiovascular disease. And so I can't just wish for my teeth to be healthy on its own without me doing anything on my part. And so the law of entropy states that anything left to itself will grow more in disorder. And so if you want your circumstance as a nurse practitioner to improve, if you want to get smoother with connecting with your patients, whether pediatric or adult patients, whether male or female patients, intention is required. A new skill set stacked is required. And so if this is something you'd love to know more about, then I invite you to download my free guide, Own the Patient Conversation. The link is down below in the description box. And when you click on it, within like minutes, sent to your email, minutes, you can have the secret strategy to own any patient conversation and meaningfully connect with your patient in seconds. And imagine you're outside the exam room at work, at the clinic or the hospital, and you're reading your patient's chart and before you enter the exam room, and instead of feeling dread because they're of a certain age that you're not skilled at connecting with, you feel at ease. You feel like this will be a breeze. You're not even dreading it. It's like tying your shoes. It's like you're on autopilot and it's such a breeze. That's possible for you. And so download my free guide right now. Now, I mentioned earlier that there were two reasons why I told the story of me wearing Invisalign. The second reason is this: learning a new skill set, changing a habit, it's going to be hard. It's going to feel really uncomfortable. It was so difficult for me to change my eating habits because of the Invisalign, and always bringing a toothbrush and toothpaste and floss with me to every time I go out to a restaurant with family or friends. It was a painful habit to create. It made me want to give up so many times. And I would stare at this stupid Invisalign tray for my teeth and question, why am I doing this? Is it even worth it? And the same goes for our careers as nurse practitioners and elevating our skill set in connecting with patients. We have so much to do already. That goes without saying. Is it really worth adding another task of learning how to meaningfully connect with our patients? Does it really change management? I mean, I'm still going to prescribe something for their blood pressure or their arthritis or their infection. Does it really matter whether I connect with the patient or not? And I totally get it. It is a complete normal human tendency to put ourselves in the center of the universe. It's natural to think, how does this affect me? Because that's where we see the immediate results, right? We either get a patient smiling and thanking us or giving us a hug or a high five, and we feel really good in the moment. We get that dopamine hit. Or it takes more time in the patient visit, and now I'm behind schedule. And now I'm behind on my notes. And now I won't leave work early. Now I'll be late in picking up my kid from daycare or from soccer practice. But the real question we need to ask ourselves is, how does each of us fit in the big picture? Nurse practitioners have been around since 1965. Only 1965. Whereas physicians have been around since, okay, technically we don't know, we don't have documentation, but since at least 400 BC, which is when the Hippocrates Oath, do no harm, was written. But I'm sure doctors were around even before then, even before that time. But, and as usual, majority of people trust something that's been around for a long time. I already had a patient this week who I've been managing and seeing for quite a bit of time, managing her health. And she said she wants to see the doctor instead. She doesn't want to see me anymore. And so, how can nurse practitioners help people when we're already battling this trust issue? And so, I have one last story to tell you, and I hope this will really help paint the picture. Do you love to drink coffee? I know probably most of us do. Japan, did you know that Japan is one of the largest coffee markets in the world? In fact, reports demonstrate that Japan is the second largest coffee consumption market by revenue sales globally, right behind the US. So, would it surprise you to know that in the 1970s, just like 50 years ago, 1970s, coffee wasn't so popular in Japan? So, what happened? What made this huge change? So, back in the 70s, the company Nestle saw a great opportunity to expand their business in Japan's growing economy. And they tried to sell coffee, but sales kind of they flatlined. No one was really interested in coffee at the time. And Nestle realized it was cultural. Green tea was ingrained in Japanese culture as a daily beverage, as a way to connect with the community, with your family, your friends, and not coffee. And so Nestle, they did something different. They did not hire a better marketing team, a better advertising team. They hired a child psychiatrist. They hired a child psychiatrist to help them. And this child psychiatrist, he said that consumer decisions are more often than not driven by subconscious emotional impulses rather than rational and logical thought. So this means that consumers prefer brands that evoke emotions and memories and a sense of community. So that's why green tea was so popular, because it was ingrained in Japanese culture from a historical context, but also childhood associations within the Japanese consumers. Children grew up drinking green tea. Children watched their parents and their grandparents drinking green tea. And so it was like ingrained in the culture. And so this child psychiatrist proposed Nestle to create a positive association with coffee in children from a young age. And so Nestle launched a line of coffee flavored candies with Kit Kat to create a future generation of coffee lovers. And if you didn't know, Kit Kat, so Kit Kat's very popular. It's a chocolate, with a little wafer inside. So Kit Kat is very popular in Japan because it sounds like kitokatsu, which is Japanese for you will surely win. And so the candy Kit Kat actually is, seen as a good luck charm. So it's often given to little children. And so they're popular gifts for children before exams because it's kind of like a good luck charm. And so Nestle did this. They created coffee flavored Kit Kat candies for children, and they waited a decade before they reintroduced coffee to the Japanese market, and sales exploded. It completely exploded. Coffee had become such a familiar and desirable beverage by now. Japanese consumers had a positive connection to coffee built through the candies they had as children from their childhood. And now Japan is one of the largest consumers of coffee in the world. And I know. When you're probably thinking the same thing I thought when I first heard the story. That is so manipulative. Nestle did that. They could change a whole generation. But when you look at the whole picture, if you look at the whole picture, the story demonstrates the secret to building trust with our patients when nurse practitioners have only been around for 60 years, like less than a generation. What if we created an entire generation that loved and valued nurse practitioners? What if we created a whole generation that is excited to open up and trust and see nurse practitioners? This message is truly for all of you nurse practitioners, but is especially for that one nurse practitioner who said, I don't know how to relate to pediatric patients. I urge you to be excited about this. Be so excited. We are in a pot of gold. We are in this beautiful pioneering moment where you can change an entire generation's trust and belief in nurse practitioners. And so that's the world we want to live in. And it's within our grasp, it's within all of our grasp. What you resist persists, but the skills you elevate shapes the world you cultivate. I hope this episode was helpful. If it was, then you should definitely watch my last episode. Just stop just surviving and do this instead. Otherwise, I will see you all in the next episode. And remember, I am always rooting for you.